The email subject line said, "Your monthly statement is ready." Same as always. I clicked it while my coffee was still blooming in the French press, and there it was. $312.18, due by the 12th. I stared at the number until the steam off my mug stopped. My name is Trinity Ward. I'm 33, the older daughter, the one who fills in blanks on forms and knows which number you press to reach a human. I work at the city permitting counter. I can tell you which submittal needs 2 copies and which needs 8 without looking. At home, I live alone in a 1-bedroom near the river, 10 minutes from my parents' place if the light at Pine cooperates. 6 years ago, spring of 2018, when my mom finally let her flip phone go, I put my parents' cell plan in my name. 2 lines, unlimited talk, a small data bucket they never finish. With taxes and fees, it runs about $90 a month. I set it on auto-pay from my debit card and told them not to worry about it. My quiet donation to family peace. It wasn't heroic, it was practical. My mother Helen is 61 and would rather hand-wash baseboards than listen to a phone menu. She smooths the tablecloth between her hands when she's nervous, like she can iron conflict out of the air. My dad, Sylvester, is 63 and lives for simple systems. Change the oil at 5,000 miles. Pay cash when you can. Keep receipts in a shoebox by month. He'll defer to my mother until something unfair crosses his line. Then he says one sentence and sits back down. My sister, Elizabeth, is 29. She has 2 kids in grade school and a social calendar that looks like a parade route. She treats "it's family" as both a reason and a receipt. If there's a lending library of chargers and rides and favors, she assumes my shelf is open 24/7. She's not mean, she's fast. She buys and asks forgiveness later, if at all. I'm the opposite. I'll swallow 3 small annoyances to avoid one big blow-up. Lately, the small things have been stacking like plates in the sink. The phone plan is a perfect example of how our system evolved. Back when my parents went to upgrade, Mom lasted 8 minutes in the store before her shoulders went up to her ears. I told her to go home. I could do it online. I picked a postpaid plan with 2 basic smartphones, stuck their names on the lines as authorized users, and set a simple PIN they could remember. I made a little note in my budget spreadsheet. Parents' phones, $90, autopay 12th. I didn't charge them. They cover Sunday dinners and send me home with leftovers. It felt fair. I've kept it tidy ever since. If a carrier email came in, I read it. If a promo banner tried to seduce me into an upgrade, I ignored it. When Mom dropped her phone in the sink last year, I used the insurance I added on day 1 and waited through the hold music for her. When Dad forgot the voicemail passcode, I reset it and wrote it on the inside of his wallet in tiny letters. This is the lane I've been in since we were kids. Elizabeth left dishes to soak, I scrubbed. I don't mind being useful. I like being the person who knows where the passwords go and what time the post office closes on Saturdays. But usefulness has a way of expanding to fill every gap if you don't cap it. Over the past year, I'd started to notice how often my "no problem" came out of my mouth before I even looked at my calendar or my bank balance. It's not that I can't afford $90. It's that I didn't remember choosing it lately. I just kept doing it because it kept the peace. My parents are easy on the phones. They barely text. Mom sends me pictures of her plants with captions that are just the plant's name. Dad uses his phone as a flashlight and a weather radio. We never added tablets, watches, hotspots. None of that. The account was clean. 2 lines, 2 people, 1 auto pay on the 12th. So when I saw $312, my first thought was I had clicked the wrong email. Maybe it was my power bill. But the logo was right, and the line below the total had the last 4 digits of the bank card I use for their plan. The bill date was the first Monday of May. The auto-pay date hadn't changed. Only the amount had. I stood in my kitchen in my work flats, the French press half-plunged, and scrolled. I didn't get far before my phone buzzed with a reminder to leave for City Hall. I put it down, pulled my hair into a low ponytail, and told myself I'd deal with it at lunch. Then I grabbed my badge, locked my door, and tried not to think about what could turn $90 into $300 in 1 month. At my desk, while a contractor dug through his plans and someone argued with the parking clerk over a $25 ticket, I reopened the email. The carrier's hold music started playing in my head, just looking at the logo. I know every synth flourish by heart. I could already feel the scripted apologies and the "have I resolved your issue today?" survey before anyone resolved anything. I took a breath. I reminded myself it's just a bill and bills have reasons. I clicked the View Details button. Then a bill hit my inbox for $312. The detail page loaded like a grocery receipt that never ended. The top half looked normal, 2 phone lines with the usual taxes. Then there were 3 new rows stacked under a banner that said, "New devices added this cycle. Tablet line access X2, $20. Device installment, Tablet A, $14.58. Device installment, Tablet B, $14.58. Wearable line access, $10. Device installment, smartwatch, $16.67. Activation fees, $35. Worries, X3. Proration, 78. Whoa. The total in the corner blinked at me like I might argue it down with a stare. I checked the dates. The additions were stamped last Thursday at 7:18 p.m. The location line read, Riverton Mall Retail, Store. Yarborough 1843. Riverton is the mall off the interstate where Elizabeth's Gym is, the one with floor-to-ceiling windows and a smoothie place that charges $9 for blended spinach. I called my mom first. She picked up on the second ring. "Hi, honey. Are you coming Sunday? I'm thinking lemon chicken." "Sounds good. Quick question. Did you or Dad add anything to the phone plan?" "Tablets? A watch?" Silence. Then the sound of her moving around, like she'd put the phone on her shoulder to wipe a counter. "No, we didn't order anything." "Why?" The bill jumped. "It shows 2 tablets and a smartwatch added last week." "We don't have tablets," she said, absolutely certain in the way she is about what's in her pantry. "I hate those." "Your father barely knows how to open pictures." In the background, Dad said, "We barely text, because he hears half the call and answers the part he recognizes." "Okay," I said. "I figured. I'm just checking." "Should I call them?" Mom sounded tired already, like the hold music was going to bycatch her. "No, don't. I'll handle it." I hung up and texted Elizabeth. "Did you add devices to the parents' plan?" 3 dots, then they disappeared. I waited, watched a contractor unfold blueprints across my counter and argue with himself about a setback, and waited some more. When she didn't answer, I called. Straight to voicemail. I took my lunch at my desk, Tupperware of pasta, lukewarm, and opened my laptop to the account dashboard. The order history button had a little red dot next to it. I clicked through to View Documents. A PDF opened with a generic title, Retail Agreement, 05 Sakin. It had the store name, the timestamp, the employee ID, and 3 electronic signatures in a shaky, stylus squiggle. Underneath each signature was ID verified, state DL. Hell. The last 4 digits of the driver's license number are in my head, because last summer we rented a van for a cousin's wedding, and I filled in everyone's info to save time. The last 4 matched Elizabeth's. The address on the agreement was hers too, the apartment complex off Maple where you can see the softball field from the parking lot. My stomach did a slow drop, the way elevators do when they stop half an inch below the floor. I called her again. This time she picked up on the second ring, breathless. "Hey, sorry, I'm walking out of a class. What's up?" "Did you add 2 tablets and a watch to Mom and Dad's phone plan?" "Oh, yeah." She said it like I'd asked if she'd borrowed my strainer. "The kids can use the tablets for school, and I wanted to try the watch. It's all family." "It's all family," I repeated, more for myself than her. "You make more than me," she said, half joke, half not. And Dad said we should keep things simple, one bill. That's not how the bill works, I said. I kept my voice level. The account is in my name. When something gets added, I pay first and figure it out later. You've always covered the phones, Trin. It's fine. I'll Venmo you some. Some. A word that doesn't mean anything in a bill that itemizes every fee down to the penny. Why did you put it on this account? It was easier, she said. I was already at the store. They said they needed someone on the account to approve, so they called Mom. She said you handle it, and they let me sign for the devices. It took 5 minutes. My jaw tightened. Mom didn't order anything. She just told a stranger on a script what she always says, that I handle it. The store did the rest. You should have called me, I said. I knew you'd say no, she said, cheerful the way she gets when she's nudging a boundary with a smile. It's fine. It's all family. I looked at the PDF again, the stylus loops of her initials under wearable agreement, the line that said, billing address, Elizabeth's apartment. My name at the top as account owner, her signature under the toys. I'm not paying for this, I said. She laughed then, quick, like I'd told a joke. Okay, calm down. I'll send you what I can. The kids need them for homework, so just, be cool about it. Send me what you can, turned into her hanging up because one of the kids ran ahead in the parking lot and she had to yell, hold hands. The call dropped without a goodbye. I sat there with my fork in the pasta and the PDF open, the pixels of her signature grinning at me with every curl. The notes were clear enough for me. 3 new lines, financed, activated at Riverton Mall at 7:18 p.m. On a Thursday. My name was on the account, but her signature was on the toys. I drove over after work instead of going home. The light at Pine cooperated for once. Mom had a pot of soup on and was cutting bread into 2 thick slices because she says people can always take less, but they can't take more if it's not there. Dad sat with the day's mail stacked by his elbow, sorting junk from bills. Show me your phones, I said, half joking so it wouldn't sound like an audit. Mom handed hers over right away, screen smudged, case clean because she wipes it with Windex like it's a window. Same basic smartphone I'd bought last year after the sink incident. Dad patted his pocket and pulled his out. No watch on either of their wrists. No tablet on the counter charging. Relief and irritation mixed into something flat behind my ribs. We didn't order anything, Mom said, like she'd been practicing it to tell me. Her hands pressed the edge of the tablecloth and smoothed it to a perfect line. I told that boy at the store that you handle it. I know, I said. That's how they made it happen. Dad said, we don't need tablet computers. He said computers like it was a separate species that migrates through Best Buy once a year. I put my phone on the table between the butter dish and the salt and pulled up the account page. 2 tablets, 1 watch, added Thursday night. Riverton Mall. It's right here. The front door opened then, and Elizabeth came in like she had a key to the air. I was nearby, she called, kicking off her sneakers by the mat. The kids weren't with her. She held up a grocery bag with a bunch of bananas and a box of cereal. For you, she told Mom, kissing her cheek. You always forget to buy the fancy kind Dad likes. Mom smiled like she was grateful for bananas and a buffer. Sit. There's soup. I can't stay, Elizabeth said, already sliding into a chair. She saw my phone on the table and the way Mom's hands were worrying the cloth. Oh my God, she groaned, reading the room. Are we doing this? We're eating, Mom said, too bright. She passed the bread. Have some bread. I tapped the screen. We are doing this. Did you really put 2 tablets and a watch on this plan? Elizabeth blew air out of her cheeks like a balloon. Trin, you're being dramatic. It's all family. The kids literally have assignments on the school app now. I picked up the cheapest ones. Cheapest ones with financing, I said, and activation fees, and line access fees. You make more than me, she said, softening it with a half smile like we were sharing a secret. You won't even feel it. Dad's fork paused over his bowl. That's not a reason, I said. You can't use my paycheck as consent. We've always shared. She gestured around like that proved it. The bread, the soup, the same old curtains. You put the phones in your name because it's simpler for everyone. This is the same thing. No, I said. I kept my voice level because raising it never helps. I put the phones in my name 6 years ago because Mom hates hold music and Dad likes one system. 2 lines. That's it. If you add it, you pay it. Elizabeth rolled her eyes. God, you love a slogan. Mom's knuckles went white on the tablecloth. Girls, she said, the plea baked in. It's not a slogan, I said. It's the rule I should have said out loud a long time ago. Elizabeth took a slice of bread she said she didn't have time for. I talked to the guy at the store. He said it was fine. They called Mom. She said you handle things, and he put it through. It took 5 minutes. That's because it was my account, I said. My name at the top, my card on file. You didn't get permission from the person paying. You got a 19-year-old on commission to push it through. She snorted. Okay, now you're insulting teenagers. Dad cleared his throat. He didn't look at either of us. We didn't ask for any of that. We don't want to learn new gadgets. Elizabeth flicked a glance at him like he'd betrayed her. It's not for you, Dad. It's for the kids. Then it doesn't belong on their plan, I said. Or mine. Trinity. Mom's voice had the stop sign in it. Please. I looked at her hands, at the clean line she'd pressed into cotton that didn't need pressing. She would keep smoothing until the cloth wore thin. She wanted me to be the one who lets it go because that's been my job for 3 decades. Absorb it, translate it, pay it. I put my hands flat on the table like I was swearing something. Here's what I'm doing, I said, as much to myself as to them. I'm not arguing about whether tablets are good for homework. I'm not arguing about my salary. If you add it, you pay it. Elizabeth's jaw ticked. So what? You're going to cut Mom and Dad off? Real nice. I'm going to make sure Mom and Dad have what they actually need, I said. 2 phones, same numbers, simplest plan, and I'm going to stop making it easy to put other things on me. She laughed, brittle. How? I picked up my phone. The carrier's number is muscle memory at this point. I walked to the kitchen so I wouldn't have to watch Mom shred her tablecloth with her fingers or see Elizabeth's face arrange itself into wounded. I put the phone on speaker and set it on the counter next to the fruit bowl. Thank you for calling, the recorded voice sang. Please say what you're calling about. Account changes, I said. In the dining room, forks scraped bowls. In my ear, the hold music started, the synth flutes I know too well. I stopped arguing and let it play. The robot voice asked for my passcode. I said it. The hold music did its little flute loop, then a human picked up. Thank you for calling, this is Sean Lawson. With whom do I have the pleasure? Trinity, I said. I'm the account owner. 2 lines, postpaid. There were 3 devices added last Thursday that I didn't authorize. Okay, he said, neutral, not syrupy. Let me pull up your account. Can I verify the PIN on file? I gave him the 4 digits. He read back my email and the last 4 of the card on autopay, which made my shoulders go tight. All right, he said. What are you seeing? 2 tablets and a smartwatch. Activation fees, line access, financing. Added at Riverton Mall, around 7:18 p.m. I have the retail agreement pulled up with the ID number of the person who signed. It's not me. Got it, he said. I could hear keys clicking. I'm in your account. I do see 3 new lines added on the date you mentioned. Let me open the order notes. A pause. Riverton Mall, store 1843. Yes, it looks like the sales rep called an authorized contact for approval, and then completed the order with a signer named Elizabeth. ID ending in. He read the same 4 numbers I had on my screen. And the mailing address on the installment agreements is Maple Drive, apartment. That's my sister, I said. She does not pay this bill. Understood, he said, still neutral. I want to be very clear about your options so you can decide what works best. We can open a dispute on the additions, but because someone on the account gave approval and a signer presented ID in person, that's not going to be treated as fraud. It'll likely result in the line staying and the charges standing unless the devices are returned within the return window. I looked at the doorway to the dining room. Mom's laugh rose, brittle. Elizabeth said something I couldn't hear. Dad's chair creaked. Okay, I said. What else? Here's the real choice, Sean said. Do you want those lines in your name or theirs? Silence on my end, except for the hum of the fridge. He went on, patient, like he'd had this conversation before. We can separate your parents' numbers from this postpaid account and move them to a prepaid plan in their names. That would put their service under their control with a PIN only they know. The 3 new lines would remain on the existing postpaid account with the signer attached to the device agreements. You can remove your card and auto-pay from that account so you're not paying for those lines. If I move my parents, do their numbers change? I asked. No, he said. We can port them internally. For prepaid, they'll need new SIMs, which a store can do. You'll want both of them present with IDs to set up the prepaid account. It's straightforward. What about the address? I said. Where does a paper bill go if there's no autopay? I'm looking at the order profile, he said. The equipment installment agreements were created with the Maple Drive address. The account-level mailing address can be updated, but when autopay fails, the system generates a paper statement to the address on file for the most recent order, unless you specify otherwise. He paused. Right now, that would be Maple Drive. I could feel my jaw unclench half a click. And the financing? It's tied to the signer? Yes, he said. The retail installment contracts list the buyer as Elizabeth at that address. The line access charges live on the account, but if the account is unpaid, collections contact starts with the signer on the agreements and the listed address. I exhaled. What about stopping more additions? I can put a no add a line without account owner present note and require your verbal authorization with the full passcode for any changes, he said. It's not a legal barricade, but it signals to stores and to us. You can also remove all authorized contacts except the 2-line users if you want. Do that, I said. Leave my parents as contacts, no one else. Done, he said, typing. Here's the step-by-step I recommend. 1. Today, I remove your card from autopay on the postpaid account and disable autopay entirely. 2. We flag the account for no additional lines without you. 3. You take your parents to a company store, ask for a change of responsibility of their 2 numbers to a prepaid account in their names. They'll set a 4-digit prepaid PIN. 4. Once those numbers port, this postpaid account remains with the 3 device lines and the existing installment agreements. In the meantime, I said, those 3 lines are on and billing. Yes, he said. Return window is 14 days from purchase if the devices are in like-new condition with packaging. After that, they can still cancel lines, but the remaining device balances would be due. If Elizabeth wants those in her own name, she can do an assumption of liability for those lines to a new account in her name. She would need to call in or go to a store to accept responsibility. The doorway creaked. Elizabeth had moved to the kitchen without me hearing her. She leaned on the frame, arms crossed, listening. I didn't look at her. Can you email me copies of the order notes and the signatures? I asked. I can send a summary with the store number, timestamp, and the signer's name, he said. The full documents should be visible in your online portal under Documents. They are, I said. I'll print them. Okay, he said. Do you want me to remove your card now? My hand was steady on the counter. I glanced at my parents through the doorway. Mom's hands had finally let go of the tablecloth. Dad was looking at his soup like it was a lake he'd seen before. Elizabeth's jaw worked like she was chewing on air. Sean, I said, move my parents, leave the rest. I took my lunch early the next day and drove straight to my parents' house. They were both home. Mom had already put her purse by the door like she was going to a doctor's appointment. Dad had his wallet in his shirt pocket. No one mentioned dinner. The carrier store by the grocery is small and always too bright. A young guy in a polo with a name tag that said Marcus waved us in. What can I help with? I need to move 2 numbers off a postpaid account and onto prepaid, I said. Same carrier, new account in their names. We want to set a PIN only they know. Marcus glanced at my parents, then at me. No problem. We'll need both of your IDs, he told them. And we'll port the numbers to prepaid. It takes about 30 to 45 minutes. New SIMs. Mom looked at the chairs like they might bite, then sat. Dad handed over his driver's license like a customs officer was asking. He hates handing it to anyone, but he did it. Marcus typed, asked for the numbers we were moving, and pulled up the account. Okay, I see you have an account with 3 additional lines, he said carefully, eyes flicking just once. We're just moving these 2 phone numbers. The other lines will stay where they are. That's the plan, I said. While the system churned, he explained prepaid options in the tone of someone used to repeating himself. We picked the simple one. Unlimited talk and text, a modest data cap they'd never touch. With 2 lines and autopay, it comes to $60 a month, taxes included, he said. We can set autopay today or you can add funds monthly. Either way, the account will have a 4-digit PIN. We recommend not sharing it. Fine, Mom said. She smoothed her skirt like it was a tablecloth in a different scene. Marcus slid a keypad over to her. Go ahead and set your PIN. I stepped back so I couldn't see. Dad craned his neck like he wanted to watch. Mom covered the screen with her hand and typed. Marcus had Dad set the same PIN so either could call in. Then he printed a tiny card that said, prepaid account PIN, with a blank line for them to write it down if they wanted. Dad took a pencil from behind his ear. Where did that come from? And wrote it in tiny numbers on the inside of his wallet flap, the same place I wrote his voicemail code last year. Marcus swapped their SIMs, moved the lines, and had them make test calls. Mom called me even though I was standing 3 feet away. Hello? She said into the phone, delighted when my shirt pocket chirped. Same numbers, Marcus said. You're good to go. He slid a signed receipt across the counter, both of their names as account holders, their address, and a line that said, account PIN set by customer. I also need to remove my card from the old postpaid account, I said. Autopay already got turned off, he said after checking. Looks like someone from customer care did that last night. Sean, in my ear again with his calm keyboard. But we can make sure there's no payment method attached. He clicked. All set. Can I get a printout that shows when those extra lines were added? Store number, date, who signed? I asked. You should have that in your online portal, he said. But I can print the order summary from our system. He did. 2 pages with Riverton Mall, store 1843, the timestamp, and signer Elizabeth with her ID number masked except the last 4. I slid those into my folder like they were a warranty. We were in and out in just under an hour. On the way back, Mom looked at her phone in her lap like it might jump. Do we have to learn new things? She asked. No, I said. Same phones, same numbers, new bill. If you need to call, use your PIN. Dad patted his wallet. Got it. I dropped them at home and went back to City Hall with 10 minutes to spare. I scanned the printed summaries into my work email and then printed fresh copies on the good paper from the permit printer. I tucked those behind the order confirmation for their new prepaid account. The folder had a weight to it that felt like ballast. I logged onto the old postpaid account one more time. It still had my name at the top, but the only active lines left were the 2 tablets and the watch. No payment method on file. Autopay disabled. Billing address showed Maple Drive, the same one on Elizabeth's agreement. I took a screenshot of that screen and printed it too, stapled neatly. Walking out of the print room, I felt light and a little sick, like after you finally hit send on a complaint you edited for 3 days. At my desk, a contractor needed a stamp, someone wanted to argue a setback, life hummed along like it always does. I slid the folder into my bag. On my way to my car that evening, my phone buzzed. A text from Elizabeth. A photo of her wrist with the new watch face frozen mid-spin. LOL, can you call support? It's not syncing? I looked at the picture until the screen dimmed. Then I locked my phone and put it face down on the passenger seat. I drove home along the river with the windows cracked. The phones in my bag, my parents' phones on their terms now, didn't make a sound. 2.5 weeks went by without drama, which in our family is its own kind of drama. Mom texted me a photo of her fern with the caption, "Boston Fern," like it was a postcard. Dad called the prepaid line once to ask about his voicemail, and when a recording prompted him for his PIN, I heard him say, almost proud, "I know it." The old postpaid account sat there like a shed I didn't go into. 3 lines, 2 tablets, and a watch. No payment method on file. The cycle closed on a Tuesday. I knew because the email hit my inbox out of habit, even though my card wasn't attached anymore. I didn't click it. The point wasn't to keep reading bad news. It was to make sure the bad news went to the person who created it. On Friday, my phone lit up with our family group chat. Elizabeth. Who messed with the account? I didn't answer. Mom sent a neutral thumbs up like she didn't know what to do with the shape of the question. Elizabeth again, a screenshot this time. A paper bill spread on her kitchen counter next to a cereal bowl. Total due. $221.94. Due date, the 12th. A line down the middle with the kind of charges I know by heart. Line access, tablet $20 to, line access, wearable $10, device installments $45.83, surcharges and taxes $7.11, late payment fee $7, previous balance $131. My name at the top as account owner, her address as billing. This showed up in my mailbox, she typed. Why is my address on it? Mom forwarded the screenshot to me in a separate text with one word. Honey. I could picture her hand smoothing the tablecloth with her phone on it, as if she could press down the noise through the glass. I typed and erased. Then I kept it simple. We'll talk Sunday, I wrote back. She sent a heart, then, okay, and a lemon emoji, because the recipe math in her head never stops, even when everything else is messy. In the group chat, Elizabeth's questions spiraled out into accusations. Did you change the plan? Why am I getting slapped with late fees? She used 3 exclamation points and a frowning face. Mom, did you do something when they called? Then, to me, Trinity, hello? Dad finally chimed in with a single line. Let's discuss in person. He doesn't like text fights. He likes eye contact and a table between you. I put my phone face down and pulled the folder out of my bag. I had the order summary from the Riverton store, the notes from Sean, the screenshot of the old account with only the 3 lines on it, and the Maple Drive address. I went back into the online portal and found the device agreements themselves, the PDFs with the typed block, retail installment contract, buyer, Elizabeth, last name omitted in the portal, address, Maple Drive, terms, 24 months, her stylus squiggle signature under each. I printed them on the good paper and slid them behind the other copies. I highlighted her name and the address, because if you're going to be the adult, you bring highlighters. At work, the plumbing inspector stopped by my counter and said something about backflow preventers. I nodded, stamped a permit, and told a guy who wanted to convert a garage that he still needed to meet the setback, even if it was for his mother-in-law. In between, I looked at the paper bill in the screenshot again. The late fee was $7. $7 is nothing and also not nothing. It's the cost of letting something slide one more day. Elizabeth texted me privately mid-afternoon. "Why didn't you tell me you took your card off? Now there are fees." Then, when I didn't respond, "I literally can't deal with this right now. The watch still isn't syncing." I typed, "We'll talk Sunday." Again, and left it at that. Saturday went by in errands. I bought coffee, vacuumed, watched a woman at the hardware store debate between two shades of white until she sighed and picked the one with fewer blue notes. My phone stayed quiet. Mom didn't call to pregame the conversation, which told me Dad had said something like, "Let it be. She's got a plan." I checked the old account one more time, just to make sure nothing had shifted under me. Nothing had. 3 lines, active. No payment method. Maple Drive as the billing address. I printed that page again with the date stamped at the bottom and tucked it into the folder. The tabs I'd stuck on the side, store, account, agreements, made a little rainbow. It felt overprepared and exactly right. Sunday morning, Mom texted, 1 o'clock? I sent back, "On my way after I make a copy." I ran the device agreement through the copier at the corner shipping store so I could hand Elizabeth one if she asked. I paid cash, folded the copies into the folder, and drove to my parents' house with the windows cracked. The day was fine and flat, like a lake before you throw a stone. When I parked, the group chat pinged again. "Elizabeth, I'm bringing the bill." A photo of the envelope tucked under her arm. Her wrist with the watch in the frame, still frozen on a half-spun animation. She added, "Someone better fix this." I locked my car, tucked the folder under my arm like a textbook, and went in. If there was going to be fixing, it was going to be the kind you do with receipts. Mom had the lemon chicken in the oven, and the table set like a catalog. She'd put a sprig of parsley on each plate, which meant she was trying. Dad poured iced tea into the sweating glasses and lined them up. I slid my folder next to my fork. Elizabeth came in without knocking, bill in her hand like a cop with a citation. "You set me up," she said before hello. She dropped the envelope on the table so the amount faced up. $221? And a late fee? Seriously? Mom flinched like the paper had made a sound. "Sit," she said. "Eat first." "We're talking first," Elizabeth said, still standing. "Why's my address on this? Why's your name on it if you're not paying it? What did you do?" "I moved Mom and Dad's numbers off that account," I said. I kept my tone even. "They're on prepaid now in their names." 2 lines, $60 total. That's what I'm paying. Everything else stayed where it was added. She stared at me, mouth open, then shut, then open. "You did this without telling me. You added 3 devices without asking me," I said. I opened the folder and slid a stack across. Order summary from Riverton, the timestamp, signer Elizabeth, the Maple address highlighted, then the screenshot of the old account showing 3 lines left, billing to Maple Drive. On top, the retail agreements with her signature and her address. I had highlighted those too. She didn't touch them at first. She waited for Mom to scold me. Mom smoothed the tablecloth instead. Dad picked up the top sheet and tilted his head to read it without putting on his glasses. He set it down and cleared his throat. Elizabeth sat, finally, and pulled the papers in. Her nails clicked against the highlighter. "You really printed all this." "I like having things in writing," I said. "It lowers the arguing." She skimmed. When she hit her stylus squiggle, her jaw tightened. "They called Mom," she said like it might absolve her. "They called Mom and she said, 'Trinity handles it,'" I said. "That isn't consent to put 3 finance devices on my card. You took your card off so I'd get a bill." "I took my card off because I don't pay for things I didn't choose," I said. The billing address came from your order. When there's no autopay, the system mails it there. Sean explained it. Sean? She said, like I'd said the name of a boyfriend. The rep, I said. He walked me through moving Mom and Dad and flagging the account so no one can add lines without me. He also said the financing is tied to the signer. That's you. Elizabeth's face went red in patches. You could have just asked me for money. I did, I said. You said, I'll send you some. Some isn't a plan. The oven timer went off. Mom jumped like she'd been saved by a bell. She took the chicken out and busied herself with a pot holder that didn't need adjusting. I tapped the folder. Here's where we are. I'm paying $60 a month for Mom and Dad. That's my yes. Everything else is no. If you want those devices, you can move them to your own account. If you don't, you can return what they'll take back or sell them and pay down the balance. But I'm not paying this bill. Dad finally looked up. Seems fair, he said, and took a sip of tea. Elizabeth blinked at him like he'd switched teams mid-game. Dad. He shrugged, a small one. We didn't ask for those. We don't need them. I don't like it when things get put on somebody without asking. She went quiet, the way she does when she's choosing between doubling down and shifting gears. She pulled out her phone, looked at the paper bill, found the QR code, and scanned. The payment page loaded. She typed in the account number, my last name, and amount. She hesitated with her thumb over the dollar field, then put in the full balance. Her banking app popped up to confirm. She rolled her lips between her teeth, then hit pay. We sat there and watched the little wheel spin. She got a green check mark and an email receipt she forwarded to herself. She didn't look at me. There, she said. Paid. Her cheeks were flushed. Happy? I'm not looking for happy, I said. I'm looking for clean. She snorted. God, you sound like City Hall. Elizabeth, Mom said, very soft. She set the chicken down and put a hand on Elizabeth's shoulder. No more surprises. Elizabeth moved her shoulder out from under Mom's hand gently. This was for the kids, she said, but without the fight in it now. Then put it in your name, I said. There's a process for that. It's called assumption of liability. You call, accept responsibility for those 3 lines, and set up your own account. Or cancel and pay off the balances. If you want to try returning something, you can go to the store. It's past the return window, but you can ask. Either way, it's yours to handle. She shuffled the papers again, slower. You really did this, she said finally, like she was meeting a new version of me she couldn't outwait. I did, I said. I should have sooner. We ate, because that's what our family does when there's nothing left to say that won't set something on fire. The chicken was good. Dad talked about a neighbor's roof. Mom told a story about the fern making spores and got halfway through before realizing ferns don't make seeds. Elizabeth kept checking her watch, and then caught herself and put her wrist in her lap. When we were done, she stacked her copies of the papers and slid them into the empty bill envelope. She tucked it under her arm like a folder. I'll figure it out, she said, not looking at me. I know, I said. She picked up her purse, kissed Mom's cheek, nodded at Dad, and walked out. The front door closed with the small whoomp it always makes. We sat in the quiet that followed. Mom exhaled. I don't like this, she said to the table. I know, I said, but it's cleaner now. Dad patted the top of the papers I hadn't given away. Keep copies, he said. People forget. I won't, I said. I put the folder back in my bag next to my keys and took a breath that felt like air after a storm. On Monday, Elizabeth texted me a photo of a white box on a counter and a receipt with the store logo. Returned one, she wrote. Manager said it's past 14 days. Did a one-time with a restocking fee, whatever. There was a scrawl of a signature at the bottom that wasn't hers. The line item said, return accepted. less $50 fee. I opened the old account at my desk. One tablet line already showed as pending disconnect, the installment reversed. The other tablet and the watch were still there, billing like quiet metronomes. An hour later, she sent a screenshot of a listing. Tablet, brand new, still has plastic, posted on a local marketplace. If it sells, I'll pay the balance, she added, like she wanted it on the record. Good plan, I wrote back. I didn't offer to boost the listing or troubleshoot her photos. The watch face in her picture on Sunday had been frozen. Now she posted a 5-second clip in the group chat of it finally syncing, 3 animated dots turning into a heart. Got it working, she wrote to no one in particular. Had to pair it with my own account. Duh. No, can you call support? Just the result. That afternoon she called. What's that transfer thing you said? The watch needs to be in my name to do certain features. They said the word, but I wasn't listening. Assumption of liability, I said. I can start it on my end for the watch line. You'll need to accept it on yours. They'll run your credit, set a new account, and move that line to you. She made a face I could hear. Fine. Just text me when to pick up. I called customer care. I didn't get Sean, but I got someone who knew the process. I want to transfer responsibility for one wearable line ending in 39, I said, to Elizabeth. We verified me to an inch. On the other side, they texted her a link. She tapped, set up her own account, and a half-hour later, the watch disappeared from my old dashboard and reappeared in a void I didn't have access to. She sent a shrug emoji and then, monthly is less than I thought, whatever. By Wednesday, her listing had an interested comment and then PM sent. Thursday morning, I got a photo from her, a folded $100 bill next to the tablet box and a screenshot of her carrier app showing a one-time device payment. Guy met me at the police station parking lot, LOL, paid off most of it. I'll make the rest next paycheck. Cancel line after, right? Right, I wrote. You can cancel once the balance is 0. She didn't ask me to make the call. She sent me a thumbs up and then a sandwich photo like we were back to normal chat. The group thread shifted in tone. Fewer all caps. More practical questions. Mom asking if lemon chicken could be frozen after cooking. Yes. Dad sending a picture of a bird nest under the eaves. When Mom sent a question about data, what does the little bar mean when it's almost full? I told her it was the allotment and that she was fine. If it turns red, call me or the number on your new card, I said. Use your PIN. She sent back the word PIN and a check mark. 2 days later, she texted, called, told them the PIN. They were very nice. A little victory parade in 3 sentences. Dad mentioned his PIN to me in person the next Sunday, unprompted. He opened his wallet and showed me the tiny numbers where the voicemail code lives. Right here, he said, satisfied. I called and said it before they even asked. The $60 for their prepaid plan hit my account on the date I picked. I put a recurring reminder in my calendar and labeled it Parents' Phones. My yes. It showed up once a month like any other bill I'd choose. Rent, utilities, coffee. My card was off everything else. Clean. I didn't hear from the old postpaid account except for one automated email about important updates, which I deleted. I logged in once more. 1 tablet line left. Status active. Billing to Maple Drive. It was Elizabeth's to finish. I let it sit there like a fence post marking the boundary. This side mine, that side hers. The next Sunday dinner was quieter, but not tense. Elizabeth came with the kids this time. They asked if they could take pictures of the cat on the school tablet, and she said, nope, not until after I sell it. And they didn't argue. She set her watch on the table to charge and didn't ask me to fix anything. We ate. Mom didn't hover over the tablecloth. Dad told a story about a neighbor's lawnmower. Ordinary. On the way out, Elizabeth lingered by the door. So, she said, not meeting my eye, I moved the watch. I'm paying on the tablet. The other one's gone. I'll get the line closed by next month. Okay, I said. I didn't add advice. She didn't ask. She nodded. You were right to do it this way. It came out grudging and real. I'm annoyed. But, I know, I said. Me too. Outside, the kids argued about whose turn it was to push the elevator button, even though it's a house and there is no elevator. Elizabeth laughed and herded them toward the car. The phones are quiet now. Mom sends plant photos with actual captions. Dad keeps his pin in his wallet and uses it. My folder lives on a shelf with other dealt with things: car title, lease, tax receipts. There was no big speech, no scorched earth. Just a change to how the bills flow and who answers when a store calls. At my desk Monday, a contractor tried to sneak a second kitchen into a basement, and I told him the code section by heart. He grinned and redrew the plan. The hold music didn't play in my head. My phone buzzed once, Mom asking if data rollover is real or a myth. And I told her the truth in one line. She sent a heart and a fern. Ordinary justice is boring on paper. No gavel, no showdown. Just fees landing where they belong, returns made, lines moved, and me paying for exactly what I agreed to. It's not dramatic. It holds. That's the whole point.